there is a magical intersection in sales where effort and determination and grit meet skill, judgment, and prioritization. It is the magical intersection because you have the two major components. The grit, the hard work, and the determination, and doing it on the right things. Today, most people are focused on one of them, typically the grit and the hard work. And that is good. And if you're selling something that's not that complex, it might be enough. But today we're going to be talking about something that's hard, highly competitive, very commoditized. Does it sound familiar? Certainly, our clients view us this way. And our job is to change their mind, to influence them, to persuade them. We forget that that's what sales is about. It's not pitching. It's enticing. It's building up from curiosity to interest into action, commitment, and urgency. These are all skills that we need as salespeople. And today's story is great. A guy I met on LinkedIn didn't plan on being a sales rep, unlike us. Has an interesting journey. I think you're going to enjoy this because it is the right mix of determination. Because I think the focus of the interview is much more on that, but we keep finding that he was doing it in the right way with the right people, as opposed to just doing it. Now, a lot of us just do it, and if it works, fine. But what ends up happening is if it doesn't work, what are we blaming? Is it our skill, or is it the economy, the product, the customers, the territory? Well, it's up for us to figure it out. That's our job. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into it, make sure you're checking out our partners over at covideo.com. Video email is the way to go this year. Have you checked it out? Try it. Give it a little trial. See if it works for you. Being on camera is kind of the new face-to-face selling. So we got to get used to it somehow. And guess what? When we do, it becomes insanely effective. It's been a game changer for my business last year and continues to be so this year. Also, my CRM, pipedrive.com. Make sure you're checking that out. Use the Brutal Truth coupon code and get an extended eval. And tell them you heard about it on the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Powerful little personalized CRM for you and small teams. I think they even got big teams now. But if you want a CRM to keep track of your stuff, think like a salespreneur. I think you're going to hear a little bit of that in this interview today. And for those interested in the courses, I'll sum it up and give everybody an update at the very end. Here we go. Hey, Marcus, welcome to the show. As way getting started, tell us about yourself.
Hey, awesome. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, right? So, my name is Marcus Shea. I'm the founder and founder of Venley Consulting Group. And it's a pretty new company. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Actually, I've been in outside sales and leading team for 14 plus years. Yeah. And B2B sales, to be more specific, right? So when I graduated out of college, I actually went to go work for a pretty big name company, had a startup division in Oregon, in which they had 0 customers, and they wanted me to. I was one of the first salespeople. Yeah. And it was one of those places where you know how it goes. Hey, here's a manual written by people who never sold before. All right, good luck. And by the way, we're actually bleeding in red, so we need you to go and generate as much revenue as possible and get us in the black. Yeah. So fortunately, was pretty fortunate to build a 7-figure business under a year. Went on to build multiple other operations and end up having a lot of success, getting promoted multiple times. Was there for 4 more years. And then from there, I left to another company in which I was starting outside sales, got promoted pretty quickly to be their sales manager after 9 months. And then from there, I became a sales director in 4.5 years. And I ran an org of 110 people over multiple states. We did about 200 million in sales. A lot of fun. Did that for, I was working for almost 9 years. And wow. Then I left this past September to start my own thing because I saw a huge opportunity in the training space that I think I could really help out with. And now I'm doing this, and I work directly with businesses now and sales professionals, help them crush it in sales. And so now I'm here.
Great. Well, let's go back a little bit because you've had some pretty hard jobs.
Oh yeah.
Because I recognize the logos, at least a couple of them. Mm-hmm. Tell us what it was like.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't go to college to go into sales, did you? Or
No, what's funny is I actually never thought I'd be in sales, right?
yeah,
And I grew up my parents were immigrants coming here, right? So we all grew up working in the restaurant. I mean, I started my first job was working in the restaurant. I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, as a busboy, right? Because you can do that, right? So I work up hard, and it's very much operational in the restaurant, right? You're just taking care of customers.
that's not hard work though. Restaurant.
Yeah, it's not hard work at all. It's super easy, right?
Desk jobs.
incredibly profitable, right? So, so for me, I really didn't know what I was going to do, right? So, I mean, I thought I was going to be, it's funny because my parents, they wanted me to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant, kind of typical of my type of, heritage, if you will. Yep. And I did none of those, right? So, and when I was about to graduate, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And the opportunity I saw with the big name company was to grow a startup division. And I'm like, okay, never been outside sales, didn't know what it was all about. I figured, you know what, I can at least kind of figure it out from there. I saw the opportunity, I can get promoted, hopefully lead some teams and kind of go from there. I didn't realize how hard sales was. And more specifically, this is 2007, 2008. So the economy was falling apart. Yeah. Horrible time. So literally, and we would sell directly to businesses that need to lease box trucks and pickup trucks and fleet vehicles to move their products.
Yep.
But if they had no customers to move product for, they wouldn't need our service.
Yeah.
So it was a pure grind, right? It was a pure grind for sure. And, from there, but I learned a lot, like from startup, right? Because you have to, in the startup, you do everything. There's no real playbook. You do everything. You fail. It's not as sexy.
You didn't have a pile of leads in the morning?
No. There wasn't, right? And it was funny because, at that time, like, the word startup it's not as popular as it is, like, really over the last 5 years,
Yeah.
So back then it was like, it was risky, right? It was, well, hold on, Mark. My parents were like, hey, Marcus, you're going to turn down these other jobs to work in a bank, right? Which actually ended up being a good thing later on. I was not going to work in a bank. You're going to go and basically cold call businesses on the phone and go door to door. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, right? They're like, all right. Well,
yeah, you didn't get the support you were looking for.
Yeah, no, they weren't supportive at all about it, of course. But eventually, obviously, it was a great decision because I learned a lot. I learned a lot, really, and that really cut my teeth in sales in that starting point, and that blossomed from there.
But why did you do it? Were you money motivated? Were you looking for a challenge? You didn't want to
sit interesting. It was really, for me, it was the vision, right? Of it's funny where it took quite a bit of soul searching over the last decade or so to figure out what really drives me, right? Yeah. I think a lot of people even struggle, later on in life, they have no idea what drives them. Early on, at that point, I didn't know what it was, right? I was 21 years old, but what really enticed me, right, was the vision of building something from scratch.
That's fun.
To be the author of vision. And to me, that was great. And then later I uncovered it's because I'm driven to create a legacy, right? At the time, I didn't know that. But in my mind, I'm like, hey, you know what? If I can go out there and I could build something, right? Like, and was also interesting because that company was large. That company at the time was like $20 billion a year company. And to climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, it was this huge, like, pyramid you climb, a lot of competition, etc. I saw this as a smaller pyramid.
Yeah. So
I figured I can create a massive impact sooner and climb it faster, which I did as a result because I had less people to fight against, right? Because it was also incredibly hard.
Was that something you saw as a kid? Were your parents entrepreneurs as well?
Yeah, they were. So, when they immigrated over here, so my dad only has like a middle school education. And when they immigrated over here, my dad actually was put in a re-education camp during the Communist Revolution. So he escaped from there, came to America. He had nothing. So we had nothing. So they had to start a business. They had to do something. So they started a restaurant, and they had that. And we just busted. It's an absolute grind. We busted our tail. It's always funny, right? I always laugh when I see that meme. It's like, oh, you worked 40 hours this week? That's a part-time job, right? Like that's what it was as a kid. Like I worked, that's what I was doing as a kid, right? So working long hours and hustling, it wasn't really a thing. But one thing I saw was, I'm like, dang, like my dad is busting his butt, working 80 hours a week to make not that much money, right?
But it was his.
Like, it was his, right? But that's why I need that stability for me. So that's why I'm like, if I go into this role, potentially with that vision of building this up, I could generate more money by working hard in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And that was really, really great. And I actually never thought I'd go back and become an entrepreneur. One of the things what I found over time in any role I've been in, because there's been so much building and rebuild, I've had to rebuild so many teams, is I love that building aspect.
Yeah.
And that never went away. It became more crystal clear as I got older, and I started having like more and more success. As compound, I'm like, I need to be doing my own thing. I need to build something that I could just blossom and explode with, right? And that's one thing that's why I've seen success because of that in every role I've been in. I just owned it like it was my business.
Now, where did you get the personality to be able to do cold calls all day? Because what I've known is people who are good on the phone, it's not the script.
Yeah.
It's they internalize it. They add their personality to it. They make fun of it. Right? Those are the people that rock the phone.
You're absolutely. They're kind of weird, kind of goofy. Right?
They turn it into a game.
Yes.
They don't take the rejection personally. They take a challenge.
Yes.
Of breaking the ice and building rapport.
Yeah. So it's in the word game is really the right word. Okay. So and I think a lot has to do with how I grew up. It wired me to go into sales without even realizing it, right? Yeah. And here's what I mean, okay? So, for example, growing up, my parents made me go to Chinese school every Sunday. I hated it, Chinese school, okay? Awesome. Wait, who wants to go to school outside of school, right? Like,
yeah, it's Saturday, time to go to school.
yeah, like, awesome. And that meant, like, the rest of the weekend, you're doing homework, Chinese homework. And
the Chinese language school.
Chinese language, correct.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's
easy to learn, isn't it?
So easy. There's no alphabet. There's no alphabet, right? So
I have no idea.
There's no alphabet. So literally, the way you memorize the words is you just have to know it. So you need to have at least a minimum of 3,000 minimum characters to understand Chinese, right? To be able to read and write. So what that meant was you had to sit there and do things you didn't like, which meant writing repetitively the same characters over and over and over. So you have to make it into a game, right? And eventually, that was the first piece. And then other things started happening where you growing up in that type of environment when everyone's pitching in, you do many things you don't like to do. Like you just, okay, you know what? We're cleaning grease traps. Well, you don't want to clean grease traps at 7, but you have to because the business needs it, right? And eventually, I grew up to be a competitive swimmer. If you ever talk to competitive swimmers, you are in the pool putting in 5,000 to 10,000 meters a day, looking at the same thing, same tiles over and over, doing things you don't want to do, waking up at 4 o'clock, putting in 5 to 6 hours, getting cold water, right? And so you start to develop not a thickness of skin, but this mental toughness of understanding of putting the work in will get you somewhere because there's no immediate gratification, right? Yeah. And to me, cold call is the same way. So I literally remember the first time picking up the phone. I remember I was like shaking the whole time because I was like, oh my God, like I was like, call someone. Like I'd already seen Boiler Room, right? So I'd seen Boiler. I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't do this. And I remember picking up and just trying to do it. And man, booked 0 appointments first. It was 0. Just I went home. I'm like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I thought I was going to quit. I'm like, I should have been an accountant. I knew it. You know, like I can't do this. Like,
any openings at the restaurant?
Yeah, I know. Like, so my parents had sold the restaurant. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to start a restaurant.
Safety net.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, this is terrible. So, but the thing was, is like, you know, and that's where I started really trying to investigate myself and getting books and learning and really understanding some of the sales psychology, right? Because you know, at the end of the day, there's some instinctual things I kind of figured out over time, but I'm like, I needed some fundamentals, right? So, I started making it a game. Right, I started making a game. Right, it was like I'm very competitive. Right, so I remember like my first day, like door knocking in the field. You know, I asked my boss. I said, "Hey, who'd never done outside sales, of course." Right, he's like, "I'm like, hey, so how many doors should I knock on? How many business should I walk into today?" He's like, "Well, you got to do 30 because that's what most people do 30." I'm like, "Okay." My goal that day was to double it. Right, so I did 60 that day. Right, and that's kind of how I'm wired. I'm like, okay, if I can just push it a little more. And that's how a competitive swim, I'm like, just a little bit more, a little bit more. If I can just do that, right? And I've also been a firm believer because I've usually been the least talented in everything I've done. If I can not necessarily outwork, it's not about outworking. If I can outdo the repetitions of everyone else, I will learn at a faster speed.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew that. So I'm like, okay, if they do 30 and they're still not figuring it out, if I could double it, I could probably double my learning speed in cold calling as well, right?
Yeah.
It's not always perfect, obviously, but that's a simple logic. So, and that's how I've always been wired. And at that point, I'm like, okay, because now I just learned 60 different ways that someone could tell me no. I just learned 60 different objections. And then it's kind of like choose your own adventure, right? I can map out the path of success, right? And then I can shorten it.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's how I've always thought, right? So that's how it started. You know?
And even when it's like swimming, because I was a runner, but swimming, probably the form is critical.
100%.
Right? Because
100%.
once you get you get the rhythm and the form.
That's it.
And running, a lot of that, it's basically labor.
Sure. Right. Sure. Right.
But there is a little bit of performance to it.
Yes.
That gets
in. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Yeah.
And then the cold calling, if you can prioritize who's most likely to be receptive to this.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Oh yeah. So I started, like I'm a little crazy in the sense of I would go and I would really think about every single day, like, okay, what went wrong and what went really well.
Yeah.
And how can I repeat the results, right? And I started tweaking, right? So for example, like I remember early on, I used to make a mistake where I still hear reps and SDRs do the same thing. They're like, hi Brian, how are you? I'm good, man. What do you want? Who are you?
Right. Who is it?
And I remember one time I said it and someone's like, actually I'm really bad. My dog died today. I'm like, oh.
Can I interest you in some shipping service?
Yes. Do you have some time to chat? Maybe, I'm like, oh crap. Just like they just hung up basically, right? So, and I was like, why am I asking that? Right? It's so disingenuous. Like, how could I? And really, the key was also learning how to ask myself better questions.
Yeah.
So I asked myself questions like, what could I say and do instead? Right? It's interesting. So even that example right there, I took "How are you?" got rid of it. And I just put in, thanks for taking my call. And I go right into why I'm calling, right? And it was interesting. It's like, oh, because these decision makers, these high level execs were like, at least he's getting right to the point. He's not trying to fluff me with a bunch of features and benefits.
Yeah,
like all that fluff that they don't care about, right? So,
yeah.
But those things I figured out by little tweaks.
And was it pure phone sales or was it on-prem? Were you trying to get a meeting?
Both. It was both. So it was, so we do anything, it was full cycle sales process. So we had to do from lead gen to the meetings, to closing, to providing the service. We did everything because we literally were a startup. So it was like, it became like a mixture as I sold more, the less time I had in the field, because now we're taking care of all these clients, all account management. Because we were bleeding the red. We couldn't afford different types of reps or other roles. We just did everything.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but exhausting.
So what I heard is that you would come up with your system. If it worked, you'd polish it. If it didn't work, you scrap it, come up with something better.
A lot of tweaking, man. Yeah. A lot of tweaking. Yeah.
And how did you keep yourself motivated?
Yeah. So at the time it was definitely fear, right? It's fear, right? It was fear.
Fear of getting canned, fear of losing, fear.
Yeah, fear. I mean, it was fear of getting canned, fear of losing, fear of just being embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
Fear of having to go back to my parents like, you were right. Fear of.
You can't do that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, those things people don't talk about, but it's real. Like, I was like, I didn't want to be a disappointment, right? And especially like in Chinese culture, right? Like, the son is like the guy who's supposed to do everything. So I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't a cat. I went against what they said, and now I'm going to fail in sales. Great. Right.
So they're relying on you for retirement too.
Yeah, we're on retirement, right? So, but that was, and the thing was on top of that, like, because at the time, I think unemployment was running like 10, 12%.
It was terrible.
Yeah, right. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? Like, if I don't make it, it became simply, it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I had to figure it out. Like, I just, failure wasn't an option. Success was the only option. I had to figure it out some way. Right. So,
and what differentiated you from the people who didn't make it?
Yeah, I mean, simply, I believe a lot of people are very unintentional in how they live their life.
Yeah.
Right. they live through, they're unconsciously waking up, unconsciously going to go through the day, kind of go through the motions, right? I don't like motion. I like action. Right. Yeah. And I would reflect and I would think when something didn't go the way I expected or wanted, I would think, what could I do differently? How can I tweak this? If I didn't know the answer, who would know? Who could guide me?
Right.
Like it's like
you didn't go blaming the client or blaming the company.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to just because of what I saw growing up. Like when things go wrong all the time at the restaurant, right? Things would happen, and like, what can we do differently, right? Like I remember literally walking in one day. I was 7 years old with my parents to a restaurant. Someone had broken in overnight, smashed everything, stolen everything. I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I'm thinking we're gonna be homeless. That's my biggest fear, right? And my dad's like, yeah, he's like, okay, well, we're gonna put in a security system. I'm like, huh? In my head, he's like, that's what we're gonna do. It wasn't like, hey, we're gonna freak out and you can cry. It's like, now what?
Yeah,
do something different, right? So that's the mindset I grew up with. Like, okay, you know what? That did not go the way I wanted. What can I do differently now to get the results I want? And that's got anything from sales, leadership. You know, transition is hard. Rep to leader is hard, right? So same thing. When I failed in leadership early on, I had to think, what can I do differently to get the result I want?
Yeah,
every single time.
And you owned it,
100%.
Because the B players, they blame everyone but them.
100%.
But you don't have control over anybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
You have influence over them maybe, but you're not going to change the economy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's where it's like, it's not to get political, but like, I'm like, yes, it does matter to some extent, who's going to be president or whatever, but they won't change you personally.
No, they
you
won't.
have to go do something about it every single day, right? That ownership in what you do. And that's a big part, right? Everything I've done, I've owned. I'm like, if this didn't work, I own it. If it worked, I own it. Does not matter. Got to own it all.
And most of them are reacting from their subconscious instead of consciously working on becoming better.
100%, right?
Yeah.
100%. And that really started early on where, like early on, it's kind of like, it sounds so cheesy, but like I remember the first book that really shifted how I thought. And that was Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah.
And I became obsessed, like literally obsessed with becoming a better version of myself, right?
Yeah.
Literally, how do I self-hack myself? How do I biohack how I think? And I became like literally obsessed. And it became everything. Everything was almost like a game. Like, how can here's where I want to go. How can I work backwards to build a strategy to get there, right? Doesn't mean it's perfect, but if I do my best, I'll more likely get the results I want.
Well, let's talk about that because I'm a huge fan of his. I've had his son on the show.
Yeah.
And I wore out his tapes.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yeah.
I bought a couple of sets. Back when cassettes were in the.
Oh yeah, I have the CDs.
Next generation. Yeah. And I met him. I met him once. Yeah. So it was a great treat. But I like it because it's a belief systems, values, and teaching you how your brain works.
100%.
Right. Because everybody's like listening to their little feelings and their emotions and thinking that's what's really going on.
Yeah.
It's just your mammal brain trying to keep you alive for one more day.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, we're so still ingrained with a lot of these initial instincts and habits, right?
Yes.
But what awareness is the first step. Once you are aware, then you can go and, okay, how can I reprogram how I think?
Yeah.
How can I retrain how I think? And some takes some time to rewire your brain, right?
It does. Yeah.
Like
anything,
time.
like learning a new language.
Just like, that's right. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And so what was some of like either the beliefs or the processes you went through every day that kind of gave you that mindset that was so effective?
So a lot of it is really the questions you ask yourself, right? And one of the things, and it's one of his books, I can't remember which book it was. Like the question, the statement was, okay, if you don't like the answer you're getting, ask a better question. Right? Yeah. And that applies to sales, obviously, right? Drastically, right? But it's so critical for even yourself. And early on, before I got to the whole personal development piece and really learn that piece, I would, something bad would happen. And I'm like, crap, stupid prospect, stupid this, stupid that, right? Just very normal, right? Like, this company has enough resources. They're not supporting me. I wish I worked for this big company. I wish this would happen, right? A lot of wishing, right? And then a lot of I shoulda. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done this. But learning key things like, okay, being more aware what questions to ask. When something would go wrong, it became, what can I learn from this?
Yes.
And how can I apply for the future?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
That's really it. Like,
right. Because it's a pretty tight learning cycle.
Yeah. Really simple. Like literally, I remember early on, like, this is so silly, but to help program my brain, I literally typed on a piece of paper, printed it out, and I taped it in my visor. Boom. Right. Next to my goals. Right.
Yeah.
On my visor, like in my car, my like 2001 Honda Accord. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, balling, right? On my 17s with the subs in the back. So rough cold call, rough door knock, get in my car, beat yourself up. Okay, here are my goals. Okay, you know what? I learned that approach is not good. I learned that, when I come into, pitchy, if you will, it does not get me the result I want.
Yeah. So
what I learned from this? What can I do now? Who would they want to hear from? How would they? So now it triggered each question, right? And that got me to thinking in a better way.
Well, that's it. That outward mindset of putting yourself in the other person's place.
That's right.
Right. Because especially when it's a cold approach, it's like, you don't want to be pitchy. They don't know who you are or what you want.
Right.
So just let them off the hook.
Yeah.
With a big smile. And
that's it. And what's interesting is like, in that big piece right there where you really learn quite a bit about self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And at the time, that wasn't really a word in my head, right? Or I heard of the term like, oh yeah, EQ, whatever. EQ is better than IQ, whatever.
Nobody knows what it means. Yeah,
no one knows what it means. But then once you start really learning, like, wow, if I could start anticipating how people are going to react, as Tony Robbins says, anticipation is the ultimate power. That means I can do step by step that leads to the most logical potential close at the end. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but I anticipate every move. Like, I started presenting in a way where I would handle all their objections before the close.
Right.
So when he gets to the close, it's like, they're like, oh, yes, let's go move forward. I'm like, yeah, it's a freaking no-brainer. Yeah. Let's just get you going, right? And it's just that type of mindset of thinking that allows you to be a problem solver, not a problem seeker. Just changes how you think.
That is good. And what were some of the other epiphanies that you had in sales? We went through the hard work, the determination, the mindset. What was some of your others?
Yeah, so one really big one was, it was actually, I had heard it in the Psychologist Summit, Brian Tracy, and he talked about the racehorse analogy, right? And you're probably familiar with, for the listeners, the racehorse analogy really is, if you watch horse racing, usually the first place winner and second place winner, it's a very tight race, right? They usually win by like 2-3 inches, right? That's really it. I mean, it's like milliseconds. However, the amount of money the first place winner wins versus the second place winner is like 10, 20, 100 times the amount of money. Now, it doesn't mean that first place winner is 100 times better. They're only like 2-3 inches better. That's it. That millisecond better. So in sales, I learned it was the millisecond, the little tweaks that could drastically create better results. And it was a little shift. And then sometimes it's in technique. Sometimes it's in mindset. Sometimes it's in like the words you say or remove, or how you say it can really shift the behavior of the prospect.
Yeah. It's that performance.
That's right. That's exactly it. So yeah.
And too many people get locked in just activity.
Yes.
But instead of how well you do the activity.
100%. When you have sharper tools, you build a better house and faster.
Right. And in sales, you either win or you lose. There's no second place in a deal.
There's no second place.
Right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. They say, oh, you came in second. Congratulations.
Yeah. Great. Awesome.
0 commission.
Yeah. Second place doesn't pay your mortgage. Okay. Like,
doesn't pay anything.
Doesn't pay anything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly right. I'll give you another really good example, right? So one thing I learned, and it's interesting because when you have someone sign a contract, right? Like you say, hey, just sign here. They're like, ooh. You see the body, ooh, right? And they do a lean back. You can read their face, and they're kind of like, ugh. I started changing that. I stopped saying sign here. I said, just fill out the bottom section. And that little shift in language, sounded like, okay, sure. and then they would sign it. Nothing shady. They are just doing exactly what's on there, but my wording choice is different, leading to a better result.
Yeah.
And those are those little degrees of difference that can transform your results from good to great.
Yeah, that's it. And I try and tell people, it's just like, no matter how well you understand the deal or somebody else's perspective, it's still incomplete.
Oh, yeah.
Which opens your mind up to like, what else am I missing?
That's right.
Because you'll never understand somebody else completely.
Right. Oh, you never will. You never will.
Right.
You know?
And people, but our subconscious mind doesn't want to be uncomfortable.
No.
It wants to be nice and warm and well rested and fed.
That's right. That's right.
But as salespeople, we've got to get uncomfortable. We've got to get curious about what's going on in the deal.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Because, there's the old saying, right? Everything you want lies in the uncomfortable zone. And it's absolutely true. Yeah. And the more you get comfortable doing the uncomfortable, the more you actually achieve, the more deals, the more success, the better version of yourself, health-wise, your wealth, everything.
Right.
It's all in that uncomfortable zone.
Yeah, because you got to ask yourself, if you're comfortable, you're not staying still. You're kind of going down.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Right? 100%.
You're not thinking, you're not expanding, you're not growing.
Yeah. And the thing is, what's interesting about that is it's not always about, like, some people think, because here's the thing, like, things don't get any easier. You just get better, right? So, and it's easy. You just use that level of hard. But after a while, you're like, oh, it's still hard. I'm still stressed. But are you getting uncomfortable? Yeah. It's two different things, right? Being hard, being uncomfortable is two different things. They're not always aligned.
I think salespeople look at sales as either they know it or they don't know it. Right. Like riding a bike, or even reading a book. I read the book. It's like, okay, the point is not to read the book. Yeah. It's the point is to apply
a lot of people, I think, as they get more experience and tenure, they just start thinking, I got to figure it out. I'm not going to learn. I still go and learn every day. I'm always actively learning. Yeah, because at the end of the day, how foolish can I be to think my way is the only way to do things? To learn a couple of new things. Like I recently read Daniel Disney's $1 Million Message, right? Because I want to see, hey, what am I missing? Am I missing anything? And there's some key thing. I'm like, I like how you position this. That's a great way to position it, right? And I'm like, that's just being a smart professional, right? Yeah. And the big difference between a rep and a professional. The professional is constantly open to learn, right? Like even from other people, even people less experienced, because it might be one little thing, one little approach. Right. You're like, that's brilliant. I never thought of it that way.
Right. Cool.
And that's how to get better.
Hey, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to learn more from you and follow you?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Right. You can also find me on LinkedIn, which is, Marcus Chan. It's like Marcus Chan MBA. It's very easy to find. And just my website, you can go to venliconsulting.com. That's VENLI consulting.com. Or, and even easier, because it's easier to spell, salesninjaschool.com/resources. That's salesninjaschool.com/resources. Tons of free content in there as well to help you crush it in sales.
Because I talk a lot about the smarter way on the podcast, and that's been my focus. The work ethic has never been the challenge. I work too much. I get it. But what's your mix? Are you working too hard but not smart enough? Or are you working smart but not hard enough? And the beauty today is if you don't want to work that hard, we can hire virtual assistants. I'm crushing it with virtual assistants. People with pennies on the dollar, breaking my sale down into tiny little pieces. I show you how and start the conversation, get the meeting. The courses are much more focused on the smarter. It assumes that you're going to work hard. And I think any salespreneur knows they have to show up every day, kind of have that entrepreneurial feel. Because as salespeople, we're entrepreneurs, whether you admit it or not. And you can fight it all you want. But guess what? It gets caught up. The numbers speak for themselves. How you get them is up to you. I like the smarter way, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's 24 hours, and we all get that same 24 hours. And we're flesh and bone, so we need to rest. We need to eat. We need a little exercise occasionally. That's what I got out of this interview, is that you still have to be really smart about how you spend your time, how people buy, because our companies don't really teach us this. They throw us scripts and playbooks, and put us in 2-day workshops with somebody who's never sold. Trust me, I see them all over LinkedIn. Check out their profiles. When did they sell? If they've ever sold. Managing is different than selling. When you're on the phones or trying to get meetings all day, every day for 25 years, you tend to learn a little bit about how to approach people and how to engage with people, how to turn a conversation into a business conversation so that you know how to approach mammals the way mammals want to be approached. Guess what they don't want? They don't want spam. They don't want robocalls. Do you? Doesn't work. So why do you think it would work on other people? And if it does work on them, you get the Darwinian effect, meaning they're probably not the right people. But yet, prospecting is much like Sadie Hawkins. The Sadie Hawkins dance is when girls get to choose the guys, and the guys are like, whoa, awesome, until you guess what you were attracting. It happened to me in high school. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life because I thought it would be, oh, great, I don't have to ask a girl out. I'm going to have a ball. And guess what? I did not win a prize, I'll just tell you that. What we have to be as salespeople is pick out the people we want to do business with, approach them, and get meetings with them. That's what Start the Conversation, Get the Meetings all about. I teach you how to do it at scale, how to do it and outsource it as well, how to automate it with technology, how to make it a habit and a routine so it feels like you're at a party versus pitching all day, and how it can be fun to engage with your market. I just got off a one-on-one right now, and the tip that I had given them, it's just cooking for me. He goes, I can't believe I spent 5 minutes on it and I got a couple of leads. And it's like, yeah, you did it the way mammals want to be approached. I actually did 2 one-on-ones today. What people are getting out of this is being able to share what's working today, give examples, have tons of access to content. And you have to admit to yourself, am I lazy or am I cheap? It's one or both of those, because why else would you not increase your income by becoming better at what you do? There's only 2 options. You're lazy or you're cheap. Don't tell me. I don't care. I got off of one of the introduction calls and, well, I'll let you know either way. I go, I know you're not going to do it. What do you mean? I go, you would rather spend years of pain than pennies to learn. So you're never going to learn. Sorry. This is what sales is about. It's about stepping up. You can everyone tells me about their base salary. The base salary is what's keeping you from becoming the great salesperson you are, because you're comfortable. The comfort, the excitement of sales is getting uncomfortable a little bit every day, so you can, instead of... Exactly. Those are the options, and you get to choose. So why not start conversations and get meetings and close the complex sale? Why not learn from my mistakes and hundreds of other people's mistakes instead of you having to do it yourself and ended up, blowing up? You don't need to. Be smart. Go to b2brevenue.com, sign up for the course, or schedule a little 15-minute call with me. If the podcast resonates with you, or unless you're, making 7 figures, are you? Okay, that's fine. I get it. No need. You can go listen to Joe Rogan. It doesn't matter. I'll get over it. Don't worry. But let's learn how to sell now. This is the time. The time is going to go by whether you do it or not. Guess what? Why not spend the time wisely? Sell something. We'll see you next time. Make sure you're checking out the other 2 podcasts, Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers, the B2B Revenue Leadership Show. Check out Co-Video, video email. Just try it. Then tell me either it doesn't work for you or not. But if you don't try it, you don't know. The other is pipedrive.com. Brutal Truth coupon code. You got to have your own CRM. Guess what? When are you going to retire? All those contacts, all that context that you're building your network into your net worth, and you need to keep track of it. LinkedIn's nice, but it doesn't have contact information, no context. You need a little CRM so you can keep track of these people, connect with them, engage with them, and make some money.